So you are one of these dealers, these people who deal the cards in civilization.
I deal some memes too.
Yes, you do.
Some.
So I think a lot of people thought when you bought Twitter that this is kind of an outlier. Like, how does this, what doesn't fit with these other things you're doing? I never thought that. Because I think you're dealing with big civilizational issues and problems, and I was right on your page. I think Twitter is one of them. I mean, you have talked about this woke mind virus.
Yes.
In really apocalyptic terms.
Yeah.
You should explain why you don't think it's hyperbole to say things like it's pushing civilization towards suicide.
I think we need to be very cautious about anything that is anti-meritocratic and anything that is that results in the suppression of free speech. So, you know, those are two of the aspects of the woke mind virus that I think are very dangerous. Is that it's often anti-meritocratic. You can't question things. Even the questioning is bad. So, you know, another way to almost synonymous would be cancel culture.
Interesting. People, you and I are both like in that little group of people. Maybe it's a bigger group now.
Yeah.
Who are called conservative, who haven't really changed. I don't think of you as a conservative.
I'm definitely. Yeah, like I at least think of myself as a moderate, you know. So, I mean, at least I've spent a massive amount of my life energy building sustainable energy, you know, electric vehicles and batteries and solar and stuff to help save the environment. That's not a, you know. No. It's not exactly far right.
No, you drew that diagram. You drew that world has changed.
Right.
I feel the same way. I feel like very often wokeness is not building on liberalism. It's the opposite of liberalism. I can mention many examples where it's the including free speech.
Free speech is actually is extremely important, and it's bizarre that we've come to this point where, like, free speech used to be a left or liberal value, and yet we see from, you know, the in quotes left a desire to actually censor. That seems crazy. I mean, I think we should be extremely concerned about anything that undermines the First Amendment. There's a reason for the First Amendment. The First Amendment is because people came from countries where they could not speak freely, and where saying certain things would get you thrown into prison. And they were like, well, we don't want that here. We must protect free speech, and free speech only matters, it's only relevant when it's someone you don't like saying something you don't like, because obviously speech that you like is, you know, that's easy. So it's the thing about censorship is that, sure, for those who would advocate it, just remember, at some point, that will be turned on you. I think it's actually been a long time brewing, in that it's, I think it's been going on for a while. The amount of indoctrination that's happening in schools and universities is, I think, far beyond what parents realize. And I sort of came to realize this somewhat late. The experience that we had in high school and college is not the experience that kids today are having, and hasn't been for, I don't know, 10 years, maybe 20 years.
The reason is it doesn't really matter, because the fact of the matter is we have to adjust to that new environment. And I tell everyone wherever I go and hold a speech about the environment that we cannot rely just on one person, and we cannot rely on the federal government. And this is not just Trump. Remember that when I was governor, I fought the federal government also during my time, because the federal government said you cannot have a waiver to regulate your own air, because greenhouse gases is not a pollutant. And I said, what? Greenhouse gas is not a pollutant? No, it's not a pollutant. So we took them to court. Yeah. I mean, my own party was in control then, right? And it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court of the United States decided that yes, greenhouse gases is a pollutant. Well, duh. I mean, how much brain power does it take? It's crazy, because we are polluting the world, and it's not just about global climate change, but it is the amount of people that it kills every day all over the world. I mean, every year 7 million people die because of pollution. So if the responsibility of government is to protect people, then why would I let that happen?
Yeah. You mentioned that you took on Republican administrations over this issue. You know, I saw a poll earlier, a couple of months ago, and it said the single biggest issue dividing Democrats and Republicans is this one, climate change.
But David, first of all, I think that environmentalists have done a terrible job in selling this. Because the more they talk about global climate change, which no one understands what that is, you know, they talk about what's going to happen 20 years from now and the sea level rising and the polar bear and all of this kind of things. No one cares about that when you want to have a job and you want to bring food on the table today.
Right.
But what people care about is if you say, this is going to cause cancer. This is going to make your child have asthma early on. And as soon as they hear the health aspect of it, because that's how we sold it to the people in California, this is the difference. It has to be sold the right way. It has to be communicated the right way to the people, not talk about something that is happening 20 years from now, but today. Every day, 19,000 people are dying because of pollution worldwide. And this is an embarrassment that politicians and leaders cannot sit down and really fix this problem once and for all.
Let me just ask you this. You said earlier, politics sucks. And I bet you there are a lot of people who are nodding, but it's important for people, if we don't have faith in this process of democracy, which I know you value, it just doesn't work. But how do you restore faith in that democracy? Because all over the world we're seeing liberal democracies on the run. You're in Europe a lot. You're familiar with what's going on there. Give me a hopeful thought on this.
I don't understand when you say democracy is being challenged here, because it's not, as far as I'm concerned. I think the liberal politics is being challenged here, because I think that people are sick and tired everywhere of what was going on. And you see it in Germany, you see it in Austria, you see it in Hungary, you see it in England with Brexit and all this stuff, Italy, no matter where you go. People had enough. They said to themselves, how much longer can we take of we're ringing up a huge deficit every year, huge debt? Who is going to pay that off? When are we ever going to pay that off? They feel like there's too much spending going on and not enough kind of people sitting down and really agreeing and fixing problems and all this. So they're sick and tired, so they look for something else.
Right.
Okay, so it's not that the democracy.
But that's something else they look for.
It's something else. What they're looking for the opposite. So they say, okay, right, if the liberal politics didn't work, let's get someone conservative. No. Look, America sometimes makes a mistake to always think that only our rules and our way of government is perfect in the way we deal with issues. This is great for America, but the Hungarians deal differently with their issues. The Polish deal in a different way. The Italians deal in a different way. So they look at our system and they say, this is totally flawed. We look at their system and we say they're totally flawed. And Congress is getting an 18% approval rating. So that is a totally fixed system. So they over there looking at us and said, that's not what we want. A fixed system where you can't get rid of those politicians. This is why I say the most important thing is not politics. The most important thing is to go and to get off your couch and to do something about it.